Get mantra tracks and healing MP3s at JasonGallant.ca.
So today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about intimacy and how it relates to you on your spiritual path. Because intimacy is really what we're achieving or striving for when it comes down to enlightenment. It's intimacy, it's connection, intimate connection with everything that is before you. Now, a lot of people go up into their mind and come up with stories and sensations, or they eat food, but they're not intimate with it. They don't really taste it. They smell a flower, but they don't really smell it. They walk through nature, but they don't really notice anything that's around them because they're not intimate with anything. They're just intimate in their head, in their mind. That's where their intimacy lies. So you'll also see this with a lot of spiritual students. They'll work with one teacher for a period of time as long as their mind is entertained. Then they go somewhere else and work with another teacher, and then they go to this teacher, and they land on all these different teachers, but they never get anywhere because intimacy and enlightenment is the same thing. So you must become intimate. So how can you do this if you never, ever face the barriers that are between you and the subject or object on the other side? And those barriers look like your shame, your anxiety, your awkwardness, your self-loathing, you know, all of these things we talk about when it comes down to cleansing and allowing these things to move through you, or not believing these things as they come up. Because as you do spiritual practice, you'll start to expand your awareness into deeper areas of your body and of your energetic system and the illusions of suffering that you were born into. And these illusions are made up of these things that cause you to avoid intimacy. So intimacy is the path, just so you know. So if you're avoiding intimacy, especially with your teacher, I'm not talking about, you know, spiritual corruption or any of that kind of stuff. I'm just talking about being with a teacher fully and being with the thing that is radiating from them and not believing the suffering that comes up that is the wall between you and the teacher. That's why it's so important to pick the right teacher. Because if you pick the wrong teacher for you, you know, a teacher that you just don't love enough, you're never going to face this intimacy issue that you have. Now, for me, when I worked with Arathi Ma, I could face all these things because I knew Arathi Ma was the real deal and I loved her so much, and there was all these magical things that were happening because of the connection. So I knew where the cheese was. I was like a little mouse. I knew where the cheese was in the cupboard. I knew, oh, here's some shame coming up. Okay, I'll face that. And then bang, there'd be this angel singing. As soon as I faced it and loved Arathi Ma at the same time, there'd be this magical thing that happened. So it's really so laughable because a lot of the things that you think are so real inside you that are causing you suffering are not real at all, but they're just real enough to keep you from facing them. So one sign that you're avoiding intimacy is that you are always looking for entertainment in your mind. Boredom will come up, and then instead of you facing the boredom, you'll say, okay, how do I find something to do to deal with this boredom right now? What can I do to avoid that feeling of boredom? I'm bored, I need to do something, right? That's definitely a sign that you're avoiding intimacy. You'll create different games, and 1 minute you're over here, 1 minute you're over there, and sometimes you might be calling yourself spiritual because you're like, oh, I'm just a spiritual person, I'm just enjoying everything, right? But the thing is that that's really not spirituality, that's spiritual shopping. And spiritual shopping just mimics spirituality, but it never really is spirituality. It's not you facing the deepest root cause of what is driving you to have to move, to have to do, to have to constantly be on this merry-go-round of action or avoidance of action. Sometimes it can be that. Sometimes people don't do anything because they've got this so much busyness going on inside that they just don't have the energy to do anything because their mind is taking up all their energy. So don't think that any one source of the infinite is going to be met without you facing it and becoming intimate with it. It's really what you crave. You really are craving the full taste of everything. At some point, as you just experience things through the mind, you just look at a leaf and then pretend that you know what it is. You have all these judgments about it, you have experiences about it, and you've dimmed down the experience of that leaf into just a small little thing. And at some point you're like, well, there must be more to life. And that's when your spiritual journey begins. That's when you're saying, oh, there must be more. But if you want to know where more is right here, and having the courage to face right here, no matter what's here. That's intimacy. And that will bring you fulfillment. That will bring you all of the things you crave. But if you keep bouncing off, whether it's the spiritual teacher or your life or whatever, just avoidance, and just going to different places to constantly, whether it's spiritual shop or shop in whatever way you want. Maybe it's literally shopping. Maybe you've got a whole bunch of shoes at home. You could do that too, but I'm just saying if you're using this as a coping mechanism to avoid being here, then you're just going to get caught in a loop. You're never going to find this fulfillment that way. Fulfillment is all about vulnerability, as I've spoken about. So vulnerability and intimacy are really the same thing. When you're vulnerable to this moment and you allow yourself to be here, that is intimacy. So don't worry if you feel certain things that are uncomfortable. Don't worry about that. That is normal. But be here anyway. Be here anyway. Without judgment, just be here. Just like I'm here with the stream. Just listen to the stream for a moment. It's kind of hard to come up with a judgment about the stream. It's just here. This is the way you must face any emotional pain that comes up. This is all you do. You just be with it. No judgment. You see, this is happening inside you at all times. This flow. There's a reason why the Ganga is worshipped in the Eastern tradition, and why Shiva has this water flying from his crown, from Saraswati spitting out this river. It's about allowing the flow. And the people who suffer don't allow the flow. They dam up everything with thoughts and judgments and ideas and point of view. And this prevents this flow of life from moving through you. But when you allow the flow, when you let go of your judgments, let go of your identity, and just allow everything to move through without judgment, then fulfillment is the result. Be with your thoughts, no judgment. Just be here, and then allow the thoughts to unravel. Just let them go. And perhaps there is some discomfort that comes up. That's okay. You know, the thing that people say, oh, that's awkward, that's creepy. You know, all these things that are just justification for people to avoid being here. Avoid people from connecting truly because it's somehow creepy or something. I say it's creepy to not connect. That's really more creepy. That's where all the evil is done, if you want to really talk about good and evil, is when people aren't connected, when there is no connection between you and anything. If I can't feel anything in my arm, there's a lot of bad things that could happen to my arm just because I don't have the awareness or sensory perception to understand what's going on with it. So awareness, and then not shutting down the awareness, is really important. And that is really intimacy. And yes, if you want to get into satsang, you let go of the person that is you, the person that you think you are, as you're experiencing, you let go of that. Let go of who is experiencing. And then something really dramatic happens. Something really magical. Totally shifts your perspective. Totally shifts your experience of this moment. So the path is vulnerability, intimacy, the natural state of all things, including you, and let go of your previous preconception of what is, of what you think is. You just keep letting that go. So I hope this helps. Take care for now.